You know, the Republicans on Capitol Hill in the House have been handed a gold mine. They've been handed a gold mine. Now, don't get me wrong, they've worked for it. These committee hearings have been fabulous. But they're waiting for pictures of like a murder scene. And even worse, the Democrats are saying, if you don't have pictures of a murder scene, you know, you have no evidence that anything's going on here. Folks, there's a reason why you don't hear from Merrick Garland. There's a reason why you don't hear from the Department of Justice at all. All this is swirling around the President of the United States. All this is swirling around the Department of Justice. The outrageous cover-up deal that they cut with Hunter Biden's lawyers in order to quiet them, to get this off the table. So there's not going to be a criminal investigation of Joe Biden. Meantime, we have Nancy Mace and others coming forward saying basically we can't do an impeachment inquiry, or it's too soon to do an impeachment inquiry. What do you need? The murder scene. You're not going to get the murder scene. You've got tons of information here that in any other situation would trigger a criminal investigation, and in any other president would trigger an impeachment inquiry. So what exactly is the standard here? What's it going to take? You've got Republicans who are saying, well, this will cost us the House if we go down this path. What? You know what? Sometimes you do the right thing and you hope for the best in politics. But you do the right thing when you have the most corrupt president in American history sitting in the Oval Office, on top of being the most demented. They're not even calling for a special counsel on Capitol Hill. They're not even calling for a special counsel. Well, let me tell you something. There's not going to be a criminal investigation unless there is a special counsel. And they don't want a special counsel. Why? Because Joe Biden's corruption will be pointed out, be demonstrated. Even more, Joe Biden will have to give testimony under oath to a federal grand jury. Remember how they forced Donald Trump to answer questions under oath? At the direction of the grand jury? Joe Biden doesn't have to answer to anybody. He'll just keep lying to you, we the people. The Democrats don't worry. They got more grand juries going on Trump or anybody else who gets in the way than you can possibly imagine. They're not thinking of the next election. They're thinking of destroying the people who are in their way. When it comes to impeachment, they couldn't impeach fast enough or often enough. Based on nothing. Nothing. But the Republicans are there, you know, wringing their hands. It's unbelievable to me. Why aren't they calling for a special counsel? Because we're afraid of two things. One, the wrong guy will be appointed. And number two, it'll be harder for Congress to get to the bottom of it. To get to the bottom of what? They're at the bottom of it. There should be an impeachment inquiry right now. No, you don't understand. You're a step ahead. You're ahead of your skis. Whatever the stupid phraseology is. And they play right into the hand of the Democrats who keep saying what? There's no evidence tying Joe Biden. There's no evidence. There could be DNA. There could be fingerprints. There could be everything. It wouldn't matter to them. It wouldn't matter. But when you hear Republicans say it, we're dealing in large part with quislings, as I said the other day. Now, there should be a special counsel appointed. There must be a special counsel appointed, or Joe Biden will never have to answer any questions that have any legal consequence whatsoever, period. And I would say to the Democrats, you have a problem with a special counsel? If Joe Biden hasn't done anything wrong, what's the problem? What's the problem? So only Trump heads into an election handicapped with a DA in Manhattan, an attorney general in New York, a DA in Atlanta, a grand jury in Washington, a grand jury in Florida, a trial now in Florida. Only he has to deal with that. Pretty amazing, don't you think? No, it's pathetic. Now, I want to repeat this. What is the likely crime that Joe Biden committed? I said this last week. What is the likely crime that Joe Biden committed? Please, Republicans on Capitol Hill, pay attention. I'm educating you. He's a co-conspirator in Hunter Biden's FARA violations. All you have to do is show that Hunter Biden, one count of violating the FARA. This is what Robert Mueller did. This is what they did to Manafort. That's it. One count. Joe Biden, even before today, as I explained last week, the speaker phone, 20 of those? Joe Biden would have to prove his innocence. Joe Biden would have to prove that he had no knowledge who was on the other end of the phone and so forth and so on. Yet the Department of Justice just said in court that FARA was an area they were going to continue to investigate. But they're not going to investigate Joe Biden as a co-conspirator, are they? So he has to testify under oath, as I said last week, about his son. What his son told him, what his son didn't tell him. About the names of the people he spoke to those 20 times over the speaker. And by the way, that's 20 times over the speaker. How many other times did he speak to people not in front of Devon Archer? Heads of state and so forth and so on. Nobody's bringing that up. So I will. So Joe Biden needs to answer these questions under oath, under penalty of potential imprisonment. Now, of course, you can't indict a sitting president. But so what? You still need the information. We voters, don't we? Where's the evidence the Democrats want to know? Because they know that Garland's in the back pocket. And so the rational follow-up from any reporter who's with his or her salt, and most of them aren't, is, okay, you want evidence? How come you're not asking for a special counsel? You've got all this information out there. All this information out there. What's the problem? Now, what is FARA? We talk about FARA. It requires certain agents of foreign principals who are engaged in political activities or other activities specified under the statute, I'm reading from the DOJ, to make periodic public disclosure of the relationship with the foreign principal, as well as activities, receipts, and disbursements in support of those activities. Boy, they got Hunter dead to rights. Dead to rights. And Daddy, who participated in at least 20, and we know there are more, 20 in front of Devon Archer. 20 in front of Devon Archer. There could be 500 for all we know. 20 in front of Devon Archer. On the speaker, Daddy, come here, Daddy. Would you tell them who you are? I'm Joe Robinette Biden Jr. I'm the Vice President of the United States. Lunch Bucket Joe, they often call me. Quid pro quo Joe, it's another name they use. But Mark, you can't prove the Democrat. You can't prove anything. Okay, let's get a special counsel. No. Well, on what basis do you appoint a special counsel? Okay, let's look at the requirements at the Department of Justice. Section 600.1, 28 CFR. The Attorney General, in cases in which the Attorney General is recused, the acting Attorney General will appoint a special counsel. When he or she determines, will appoint a special counsel. When he or she determines that criminal investigation of a person or matter is warranted. Is it not warranted here? I mean, I think we need to answer for the Democrats, don't we, Mr. Producer? They want to know what's the evidence. All right, let's get it for them. A, that investigation or prosecution of the person or matter by a U.S. Attorney's Office or litigating division of the Department of Justice would present a conflict of interest for the department or other extraordinary circumstances, and B, that under the circumstances it would be in the public interest to appoint an outside special counsel to assume responsibility for the matter. Now, notice they talk about an outside special counsel. So Merrick Garland even violated the appointment with Jack Smith, because Jack Smith is not outside the Department of Justice. Oh, he's at the Hague. Like I said, he's not outside the Department of Justice. And I spent a lot of time last night on Life, Liberty, and Levin going through that. We charted it. We did all of it. They simply set up another Department of Justice, and they put the worst of the worst people in there, particularly Democrat hacks. But all that said, the conditions for appointing a special counsel have been met well beyond the standard that's required. Well beyond the standard. And yet, they use this to appoint a special counsel to go after Trump. That's not even the purpose. That's not even how you do this. Nobody's ever appointed a special counsel to go after the other party or the other candidate. It's an internal mechanism to make sure the Attorney General doesn't appear to be in a conflict with the man who appointed him. That's the real reason this exists. But we're not hearing with a collective voice, including from the Republican leadership, that there needs to be a special counsel. Now! Now! So Joe Biden is put under oath. And then you'll get an impeachment. Because then you'll determine that, in fact, he was a co-conspirator to violate the Foreign Registration Act. Then you'll have it. But they don't want to go there. So what's the point, America? They don't want to go the legislative constitutional route, and they don't want to go the executive criminal route with the special counsel. So what route are they going to go on? And what are they waiting for? We need to develop the case. No! You have enough of a developed case to have an impeachment inquiry. And you certainly have enough of a developed case to have a special counsel appointed. You've got enough for both or either. Or we can keep just, can you believe what Biden did? Can you believe what Archer said? Then what? I mean, it makes for great ratings, I'm sure. It makes for great conversation. On radio and TV, makes for great columns and columnists, but it doesn't help save the damn country.